I'm Pastor Rick, and this is a moment with Pastor Rick, brought to you by Straight Talk on Scripture. Have you ever looked at a situation that needs attention and you really feel that something should be done, but what you say is, you know what, it'll all work out in the end. God has got this, he'll take care of it. And because of that, you did nothing. Well, in my opinion, that's the worst thing you can do. At the very least, we can pray. But let me tell you about a man who's extremely complex and interesting. His name is Pontius Pilate, and he's the one who allowed Jesus to be crucified. So let me tell you about him. Pontius Pilate was a very successful military officer. And most military officers, in the Roman army, when they reached a certain rank, would either go to Rome and retire in luxury or become a senator. Pontius Pilate had fallen out of favor, and he ended up in Israel, which was a punishment assignment. Now, because of that, he knew he was one screw up away from a career-ending blunder. And he was definitely afraid that the Jews were going to have an uprising on his watch, and that would just impact his career in an unfavorable way. He'd be done. Instead of, upward mobility and eventually ending up as a senator in Rome, he would be finished. So because of that, when the problems happened with Jesus and the Jews brought Jesus to him and wanted him punished, all Pilate could think of is, he's an innocent man, it'll work out. If I don't do anything, the crowds, which Jesus was very popular with, will demand he be freed, and I will be absolved of any responsibility. I won't have to make a decision, and this will all take care of itself on its own. So what history tells us is several times Pilate tried to push the responsibility off on someone else. He didn't want to have Jesus executed. He knew that Jesus didn't do anything wrong, and he was just hoping if he did nothing that it would just work out on its own and everything. Jesus would be freed and it would go well for him. He wouldn't have a problem with Israel having an uprising, and his career would be safe. Well, what we see is nothing further from the truth could have happened. That Jesus was, the crowd cried out for his, crucifixion, that he was not vindicated, and Jesus was whipped, tortured, and crucified on Pontius Pilate's watch, while Pontius Pilate knew Jesus was an innocent man. And the whole reason behind it was, and this is where many of us fall into the trap, Pilate felt if he did nothing, that it would just, whoever would just take care of it, and it would just work itself out on its own, and Jesus would be freed, and Pilate wouldn't have to do anything, and his career would be safe. Brothers and sisters, if you're living in America today, and you think everything is just going to work out on its own, that God has got this, and all you have to do is nothing, you are very mistaken. You need to speak truth when you have the opportunity. You need to stand up for what's right. You need to pray. You need to do everything in your power to make sure that God is involved and that the right things happen. So, just something to think about. I'm Pastor Rick. Remember, with Jesus, there's always hope, there's always love. God bless you. I'll see you soon.